Windows protected your PC. That's how you know it's gonna be a good game. Hi everybody. Today I'm gonna be playing Luda Solovyova Will Be the Last Person on Earth. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. I might not have. Let's go. Your total will be exactly $10. Ain't that lucky? Yeah, I guess so. Are you gonna be paying with cash or card? Cash, please. I was already feeling around for filling my wallet. Fingering the folds of my wallet as some bored, underpaid night-shift employee pretended to find a stranger smoking outside interesting was already humiliating enough, but the fact that I was looking for cash made it somehow worse. What adult pays for something with cash anyhow? Usually I would opt to use my card, but Juliet had advised me against it since I was already in the negative. I'd like to say it was for something respectable like groceries, or maybe even student loans, but I couldn't. A collector's edition of one of my favorite games was re-released recently, and I just felt like I couldn't pass it up. After all, the game was 20 years old and pretty niche, so when would I ever get another opportunity to get the collector's edition at such a reasonable price? Plus, it was only a couple hundred, and I'll be paid in a week or so anyway, so I'll be fine if I just eat a little less for the next few days. And it won't even really be that bad, because I've got some cash here, which isn't even really mine because it's not on my card, and I'll just make what I'm buying here last for a few meals. I heard a cough behind me, and I realized that there was already someone waiting in line behind me. I'm not even sure when they got there, but I have probably been taking too long scrounging around. I flashed the person an apologetic smile and quickly returned my eyes to the wall. It was an excruciating second or two before I finally managed to fish the bill out, but I guess I got too restless because it ripped slightly when I tugged on it. I held out the money with a slightly shaky hand, careful to cover the spot where it had ripped with my pointer and thumb. The art is really good. Sorry that took No worries. As the clerk took the money, our hands brushed for a split second. My hands were ever so slightly slick with sweat, which I'm sure must have been disgusting. Here you go. Do you want your receipt or a bag? No thanks. Have a good one. Over the years, I made it a habit to say have a good one, just so I wouldn't accidentally say have a good day when it was night or have a good night while it was day. 2. Who's up next? I skittered away from the register as quickly as humanly possible. A bag actually would have been nice, but there was nothing I could do about that now, or even a few seconds ago for that matter, as I would look like an idiot if I crawled back and said, actually, I do need one, please. But I need to die already. I wish that clerk would die too. As I stepped outside, my steps faltered atop the shifting surface of the snow. A cold wind picked up at that very moment, and I couldn't help but feel like it was laughing at me. The snow would be melting soon, though, and between me and the wind, I was the only one who had the pleasure of actually laughing. Haha. It was about a 5-minute walk to my apartment, which would have been fine usually, but it felt like a long way to carry 3 cans of energy drinks and 2 microwave dinners in my arms. Luckily, I had decided to go out late at night. Because of that, hopefully no one will see me think about my situation for even a moment. I collapsed into my desk chair and opened the messaging app without a moment of hesitation. I wanted to talk to Juliet. Only Juliet would want to listen to me rant about something silly like my awful experience at the convenience store. I waited a moment. She's online, but sometimes she takes a second to respond. She has people other than me, I know that. But I still can't help but feel anxious sometimes. Where are you? Did you still want to call tonight? Sorry I took a second. Burying my head in my knees, I closed my eyes. We had a habit of planning calls in advance, as Juliet was an incredibly busy person. Unlike me, she was surrounded with people and had to make time for all of them. The sound of a notification made me stir. Sorry, I was away for a sec. Of course I still want to call. Just give me a second, I'll call you. I couldn't help but smile. She never actually canceled on me last minute, but every kept promise on her end always felt like a reaffirmation of my very being. In this moment, I am number one. I stared at the message for a while, trying to imagine it in her voice. I tried to imagine what it would be like to be her best friend, just as she was to me. I imagined killing her and wearing her skin. If I were to be even a modicum of the person she was, would life be even a bit easier? I'm sure she doesn't know what it's like to suffer, because that's the way she goes through life. Solo. I'm almost certain it's always been that way for her. After all, the reason I met her in the first place is because she's a fairly popular cosplayer. I had commented something underneath one of her posts and she told me that, as it turned out, she was actually planning on cosplaying the character in my profile picture. At the time, I could hardly believe it was even possible for someone of her caliber to acknowledge someone like me. After replying to a few more of her posts, she followed me back. One day, she even sent me a video of something related to the character in my profile picture. I was so happy. We've been talking to each other ever since, and it'll be a year since then in a few months. I keep count. Dragging me from my thoughts, the call notification popped up and I answered as quickly as humanly possible. Oh, she's cute. So cute. So cute. Hi, Luda. Hi, Juliet. After thinking about her like that, it's always hard to look her in the eyes. She regarded me for a moment and gave a tilt of her head in a slight pout, slightly akin to my childhood German Shepherd Valentine. Oh, what's wrong? Did they not have the right flavor again? Peach, right? Peach? Energy drinks are so disappointing. That's my commentary. So glad you guys are subscribed to me for my really good commentary. Oh my gosh, I get to make choices. No, they had it. Flashed a can of mango-flavored energy drinks my camera, my favorite. I'm allergic to peaches. She's kind of flighty and has a hard time remembering stuff. One time she ordered a cobbler to my house for my birthday and I didn't realize it had peaches in it until my throat closed up and I had to pull out my everything. She might just be trying to kill you. Honestly, she might be. She still laughs about it sometimes and I laugh along because, well, I'm not really sure why. That's just what I'm supposed to do. Did something else happen then? Such an idiot. I spent at least 5 minutes looking for my cash at the store and I totally held up the line. You should just start ordering your groceries. You always complain about having to go out anyways, and if you just order them, you don't have to be late to our calls. I looked at the clock and realized I was most certainly late. Juliet said we should call at 8 and it was already 8:04. Juliet hates people who aren't punctual, so I ought to be more careful in the future. If I'm not, would she stop letting me call her? I'm not so sure, even if I hate it. My old therapist said it's still good to make a habit of going out at least once a day, even if it's for something mundane. Even so, it'd be nice if everyone outside could just disappear and they just had self-serve kiosks or something. But not you, of course. It would be bad if you disappeared. I was just gonna ask. Don't worry. Juliet dove out of view and seemingly rummaged around herself. I could hear her mumbling to herself, and even though I couldn't exactly see her, I stared at the corner of the screen as if I could peer around it. Assorted objects flew across the screen. Here, ta-da! She flashed an ornate-looking wand, which I could only assume was a cosplay. With this wand, I'll grant your wish. I'm gonna transport you to a world where it's just us two. Just us two? Yup, just us two. Not even Trey will be there, but don't tell him. Juliet gave a showy, slightly forceful wink. I hung off for everything. A world with just the two of us, no strangers to follow a conversation with. How wonderful that would be. No point even thinking about it, though. I'll only be disappointed. Yeah, okay. Jeez, you don't look very thankful. You really. But what game were you on to play? Well, today I'm walking around the neighborhood park. I try to make a habit of going outside at least once a day, even if I have a hard time claiming I actually enjoy it. That would usually just be going to work, but today's a Saturday. It's alright here, there's hardly ever any people. Sometimes, when the fish are close enough to the shore that I can see them, I'll become so absorbed by them that I won't realize how much time has passed until the sky starts to darken. The fish were nowhere to be seen at that point, so I spent the time merely staring out at the water and pretending they were there. At times, I could even trick myself into seeing them out of the corner of my eye. It's fun enough, I guess, but it's no substitute for the real thing. Just as I start to zone out, a voice pulled me from my reverie. Hey, excuse me, would you mind getting a photo of us? Sorry for the trouble. Of course. They both pointed over to a bridge blanketed in snow. I absentmindedly stared at it for a moment and then reached out my hand. I don't know why, but their nervous demeanors comforted me slightly. Of course. Thank you, so much. Okay, pose. Okay. Aw. I snapped a few photos of them, trying my best to do so in a way that looked flattering. Taking photos isn't exactly my strong suit. I don't often have others around to take photos of, and there's absolutely no reason to take photos of myself. Sometimes when Juliet posts a selfie, I'll try my best to emulate it, hoping to find an angle that looks good on me. It never works though. The lighting's bad, or I'm making a weird face, or my head is tilted slightly the wrong way. One day, I'd like to take cute photos of myself as well. I don't think I'd want to post them or anything, but they'd just be nice to look at sometimes. After I finished shooting, I gingerly lowered the camera and found myself staring back. I stared blankly forward. The two people in front of me began to walk forward but hesitated, seemingly at my reaction. Are you okay? I rubbed my eyes violently and glued them to the ground, feeling a sense of dread welling up in my stomach. Clammy, shaking hands gripped onto the girl's phone, tight enough to cleave it into two. My head felt heavy as concrete, and the act of lifting it up to meet their gaze felt almost Herculean. Once I found the strength to do so, I found myself really wishing I hadn't. Rather than just the one girl, now both were splitting images. Seriously, are you alright, or are you feeling sick? Before that thing can finish its thought, I quickly hand them the phone and bolt off in the opposite direction. I can't stop, I'm far too afraid to stop. I'm not even sure where I'm going, but I hardly care. I run forward, lungs prepared to winter air, breathing turning habit. I keep going, my eyes turning around and threatening to bulge out my very soul. Further, ankles throbbing and legs screaming at me to stop. Luda Solovyova collapses into a heap on the ground. Around her, a small crowd starts to form. People gather around me like I'm some kind of wounded animal, pulling at my shoulders and barking questions inside my ears. As I look up, I realize they too are me. What happened? Should we call an ambulance? Not sure. Ran at me. Okay. I clutch my head and rip at my hair, and it buzzes. I feel my brain rattling around in my skull. Despite the pain, she planted her hands firmly on the ground and pushed herself up, managing to stand up even if swaying. Certain that the others are trying to speak to me. I can't hear much. I'm not listening. She pushes through the throng and stumbles forward. She collapses into her desk chair and sits there for a moment, head tilted back and threatening to fall off her neck. Her eyes are wide open and staring at the ceiling unseeing. Once I can finally catch my breath, as if on instinct, I open my computer and click on the call icon. I want to talk to Juliet. Only Juliet will want to listen to me rant about something nonsensical like a bunch of people sporting my face. I call her, and when she doesn't pick up, I simply call again. I do this for several minutes, eventually piling up dozens of calls. Jesus, Luda, what happened? You did it, I shouldn't have written it off. You did it. Why did you do it? I thought you were joking. What did I do? Huh? It worked. It didn't work in the way I thought it would. It's different. There's so many of them. They all look like me. Everyone looks like me. Before I even realized it, they all turned into me. They all sound like me too, and they act like me as well. It's weird. I don't slow down. My mouth dries up and suddenly I can't speak anymore. Is this her doing as well? You're saying everybody looks like you? Is that what you're saying? I grab hold of a lukewarm water on my desk and shove it down in one instant. I have no clue how long it's even been there, but it tastes brand new. Yeah, it's like you said, there's nobody else. The people I look at and spoke to, they all turned into me. Juliet just stares at me blank-faced for a moment. I feel my cheeks heat up under her gaze. Luda Solovyova unconsciously claws at them just to make it stop. Make it stop. As I'm caught up in myself, she begins to slowly nod to herself as if everything just now washed over her. She smiles to herself faintly before quickly shifting to a more confused expression. I can't help but wonder what there is to be happy about in a situation like this. Sorry, I really didn't think you'd take it so seriously. Really, I wouldn't want to freak you out like that on purpose. You know that, right? You're way too sensitive and that can be hard. I know you well enough to know that. You know I love you lots, right? Have you been sleeping okay? Maybe your mind is playing tricks on you. Maybe all that going out is too much of a strain. You know that therapist kind of messed up things between us for a while. Should you really be listening to her advice after all of that? I swear to God it was real. I'm not making things up and I'm not crazy either. Nothing like this has ever happened before. It's real. I wouldn't be saying anything that isn't real. If you didn't do it on purpose, it's still... Juliet keeps nodding and chews on her lip. She starts speaking and quickly stops herself, her mouth still open. She closes her mouth. She does this a few more times, reminiscent of a dying fish, until she apparently decides on the right thing to say. Well, if that's the case, maybe you should go outside and look around again just to check. Maybe it was just a one-time thing. Check for what? I clamp my hand over my mouth and bite down on the inner wall of my mouth. Seeing Juliet look at me so sadly fills me with shame and my legs start to shake uncontrollably. Sorry, I swear I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. It's not your... My throat burns. This isn't on you. Juliet seems to lighten up a bit as I say that and I relax into my chair. It's fine, really. We all slip up and I know you're stressed over this. When I say check, I just mean check if it happens again. What even started it? I don't know. These two girls came up to me to ask if I could take their picture and it happened after a bit. Do I look like you? No, but I'm seeing you through a screen, so... Not even when I do this? She makes an over-exaggerated face, and I can't help but be unnerved by how pathetic it looks. Juliet, I'm serious. Yeah, I know. You should try to go outside and talk to a few people. Maybe it was a fluke. Sorry, but I've got a date with Trey in a bit, so I don't have a ton of time to deal with this. Most people wouldn't, you know. You know I care about you lots, right? Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. But talk to strangers, that seems a little... I'm not used to doing something like that. I really don't think I could do something like that. Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. I'll be out in a second. Gotta go now. Sorry, Luda. I'll see you later, okay? Before I can even finish my sentence, she hangs up. I lower my head into my hands. I'm just gonna say right there, try to calm down or lash out. We have to try to calm down. Taking deep breaths, I do what I can to steady my heartbeat. The process is painstakingly slow, but eventually I get to a point where I'm feeling a little better somehow. Even if I'm not exactly happy with her just running off like that, I can't do much about it now. Thinking about it will only make me feel way worse. I lifted my gaze up to the window where a small sliver of lamplight was peeking through the curtains. Trembling, I got up from my chair and peered outside. It was already night somehow, so there weren't many people walking around. I thought that trying out Juliet's idea might be worth a shot, but I wasn't even sure how I'd go about it. How was I meant to manufacture a situation where I could start a conversation with someone naturally at that? It's not like I had any reason to go up to anyone like those two girls did. I let my feet carry me out the door. I was determined to simply keep walking and hopefully find something along the way, even if it took a while. All I knew was I couldn't just sit in there and drown in my own thoughts. I stood outside the convenience store, its sign glowing gently in the gloom. It was practically the only place I went regularly except my apartment, so it made sense that I found myself there. I didn't have much in my wallet, only about $5, but I was sure I could manage to buy something small and strike up a conversation with the cashier at the very least. I walked inside and shuffled around the aisles. Usually, I only ever walk inside a store when I'm absolutely certain of what I want. That way, I don't have to go through the awkward experience of fumbling around and being asked by an employee if I need any help. Eventually, I just settled on finding finding something in the alcohol aisle. I only turned 21 a couple of weeks ago, so I'm not sure what to buy. I guess even the cheapest option in the aisle will be enough to take my mind off of things. I spent a moment hovering. There's always too many options at stores, and while options would usually sound like a good thing, I get decision fatigue too easily. Just doing nothing made me nervous though, and so I quickly snatched up a nearby can of beer. The can's green, good enough. Excuse me, I just need to get through here really quick. While I was caught up in my own thoughts, a familiar face squeezed past. Part of me wanted to call out to her, but I just couldn't find the courage to do so. Instead, I opted to stare after her instead. Just as I thought, it was me. She walked up to the register in my shoes, spoke directly to the clerk in my voice, and paid with money from my wallet. Instinctively, I grasped at my wallet to make sure there was nothing missing. Fortunately, it seemed everything was accounted for. Even worse was the fact that the clerk, too, took on my appearance. It seemed that I didn't even have to speak or be spoken to for it to happen. My mere presence was enough. My throat began to close up in something I could only equate to an allergic reaction. I clawed at it and squeezed my eyes shut. The scene before me gave me confirmation of my reality, and so I tossed the beer down on the floor and haphazardly rushed outside. Luda Solovyova quickly ducked to the side and fell against the convenience store wall, sinking to the ground. I just want a moment to myself to gather my thoughts, but I just can't seem to find it. It's so hot for winter, I'm burning alive. Oh, she drew her knees close to her chest and rested her head atop them, tapping her foot incessantly. Tap, 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 tap. I'm not sure what to do next. After talking to Juliet, the only thing she thought about was seeing if what happened prior was actually real. Now that she knew for a fact that it was, she couldn't even begin to think of her next course of action. As if things weren't bad enough, she saw a silhouette drawing nearer out of the corner of her eye. She squeezed her eyes shut, hoping that she wouldn't have to face whatever it was as long as they stayed close. She hears it stop just short of her. I noticed you looking around, but then you ran out all stressed. Everything okay? Its voice draws closer, as if it crouched down in front of her. I'm on break, and so I can't easily sneak any of the stuff you were looking at. And I mean, it's kind of weird to give someone you don't know a drink, right? But I hope something like this is good enough since I already had it on me. At least when I eat stuff like this, I feel better. I mean, I won't make you take it or anything, but it trails off and she hears the sound of something being placed on the ground. She opens her eyes just enough to see what was put there, and it's a king-size candy bar. Yum! I wasn't sure what I was even expecting, but it threw me off enough to make my mind stop dead in its tracks. I blinked a few times and eventually felt calm enough to look up at the person who gave it to me. Surprisingly enough, it was the face I recognized. Even more surprisingly, his face remained his own. It was the clerk who rang me up the other day. He must often work night shifts because I see him frequently when I go in. It's weird that I know that, and I should probably be in prison for it. Hi. Hey! I squint at him for a moment, almost willing him to make my night a little worse. No matter how hard I stare though, nothing changes. If anything, the only thing changing is the fact that he now has a slightly more confused look on his face. Sorry. No, that's okay. At least you're feeling better enough to make faces at me. He shifted his feet slightly and put on a more serious expression. But for real, are you okay? Do you need me to call someone? No. Where are my words? I'm drawing a blank. How was she meant to explain the situation to a complete stranger when even her closest friend didn't believe her? Searching for anywhere else to look than his face, she began to examine her nail beds and pick at them until they drew blood. Seeing her discomfort, he stood up. Instead of leaving though, he moved to lean against the wall beside her and simply waited for her to elaborate. Side by side, we sat like that for hours. The moon remains in the sky. Yeah, sure, I'll tell her. It didn't seem like he was planning on leaving me, and so I decided I at least owed him an explanation. I just saw something that freaked me out, that's all. What was it? I tried to get a glimpse of him from the corner of my pulsing eye, desperate not to make eye contact. He absolutely knew I was looking, and so I thought better of it and rooted my eyes to a crack in the cement, just close enough to see, yet still miles away. That customer and the clerk too, they both have the same face as me. The same face? Yeah, and the same clothes as me too, the same voice, everything. Just like Juliet, the man stayed silent and ruminated on her words for a moment upon hearing her explanation. The silence is excruciating. I'd almost rather he just call me crazy and the cops on me. Wow, I can't read. The silence is excruciating. I'd almost rather he just call me crazy and call the cops on me, and then I'd be institutionalized and nobody would ever come to visit me, and I'd end up rotting alone in a cell until the day I die with no company, except for rats and ants and maybe a single cockroach, although I suppose that doesn't sound too bad. It's at least better than what's happening right now, Huh? He walked away without a word, slipping back into the convenience store. I withdrew further into my knees, pressing roughly on my eyes to stem the tears. Fortunately, I didn't have much time to be embarrassed by the interaction, as he returned mere moments later. "Oh, sorry, I just kind of walked off, huh? I just wanted to check something. Did anything else happen?" His gaze lingered on the entrance for a moment before quickly returning to me. I couldn't see much from where I was sitting, mostly because he stood inconveniently in the way. "Well, not really." I had absolutely no clue what to say. He acted as if what I just said was the most normal thing in the world. His complete non-reaction made my blood boil, and I was glad for it. "What the hell? Oops, did I say something wrong?" "No, why aren't you insulting me?" His eyes shot open for a moment, and he practically had to cram them back into their sockets. Why did I even say that? I mean, I don't really know what's going on, so I feel like it'd be kind of mean for me to just write you off and call you names. Would you feel better if I did? I don't know. Well, I'm not sure what to do in a situation like this, but do you at least feel a bit better? My mom always says just talking about something can sometimes help it go away. No, this is way more than something a single conversation could fix. That's not right. If anything, I did feel better, even just a bit. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the candy as well, it's my favorite. Oh yeah, of course. He rubbed at his neck and averted his gaze, a peculiar expression on his face. He was quickly taken out of the moment, though, by someone furiously whispering to him from the back entrance of the store. "Chris, help, your break is already over and we have a shit ton of customers." "Oh, yeah, 1 second. Frantically looked back and forth, finally clearing his throat and beginning to practically shout in my direction. "Look, I've gotta go back to work in a second, but if you go back home and rest for a bit and I see you tomorrow, since I'm working until 2 p.m., I'll help you pick out an actually good drink after my shift." I winced a bit because he was only a foot or so away from my face. He must have noticed because he abruptly softened his voice. "I know it's cheap, but the one you were holding seriously tastes awful. You don't even want to try it, unless you already know you like it." He shook his head. "I'll see ya, bye." By the time he was saying goodbye, he was already standing straight up. He spit all that out in record time, but rather than taking a moment to revel in his accomplishment, he merely turned on his heel and flew back into the store. He's way too much. I sat there in silence for a while, and by the time I opened my eyes again, I was back in bed. For as long as I can remember, the shame of being alive has been almost far too much to bear. I'm not sure when it started, much less why, but I suppose that's just the way it's always been. As with most things, just the way it's always been. Back when I was younger, I had a pet fish that I absolutely adored. He lived for years and years, and it always felt like something I could be proud of. I'm amazing. I love something so much that I'm keeping it alive way longer than it should be. I guess most house fish usually can live for years and years as long as they're in a proper aquarium, though. Every day after I got home from school, I spent hours just sitting next to him. Sometimes I'd read, sometimes I'd play video games, sometimes I'd do my homework, and sometimes I'd just stare at him. Even when I felt so anxious that I was on the verge of spilling my guts, just sitting next to his bowl brought me some kind of peace that I could find nowhere else. If I were asked at the time, I'm confident that I would have said that the fish was the thing I loved most in the whole world. I was 12 years old when he passed, but he didn't really properly die for me until years later. I came to find out one day after a conversation with my mother that the fish who died that day wasn't the one I originally brought home with me. It wasn't the 2nd or the 3rd or the 10th or even the 20th. I asked my mother how many there were, but she couldn't even remember. She stopped counting after a while. She told me that my reaction to the family dog passing was why she did it. I was inconsolable for weeks, and she didn't want to have to deal with that again. She spoke of it like a fond memory. Apparently, none of them ever lasted that long. I either forgot to feed them or fed them too much, or I forgot to replace their water. Where's my water? Or they got sick, or they just got too stressed out. After the last one died, she just decided to call it quits and deal with my reaction. I was getting too old for something so silly after all. For years, I believed that fish really did live that long. I still told people about it sometimes. She never got why I love that thing so much. I don't get why you're so upset about what happened. It's been years. It's not normal to be that attached to something like that anyways. Even before I knew it wasn't just one thing at all. Don't you think that fish is a silly thing to waste all your time on? I'm glad you like it, of course, but after discovering the truth, I never mentioned that fish to anyone ever again. If someone brought it up, I would merely brush it off and redirect the conversation. Nowadays, I'm not around anyone who knows about it anyways. It wasn't so much that I didn't want to admit the reality to myself, but more that I just didn't want anyone to find out how stupid I'd been. Looking back, I really must have been a dumb kid not to notice. I feel like I vaguely remember taking note of its changing features, but I always just wrote it off as the fish growing up alongside me. I can't say I regret falling for my mother's ruse though. In the years I had that fish, I was probably the happiest I'd ever been, that I'll ever be. Believing that something, even something so small, depended on my love gave me purpose. I'd like to have that feeling again someday, but I think that's far too selfish to ask. After all, I've already let so many down. I guess Juliet must have been pretty curious about what happened last night. For practically the first time ever, she reached out to me first. Juliet, hello, you're calling me a bit earlier than usual. Tried to hide my smile, but I'm sure it must have been obvious to anyone with a working brain. Juliet didn't seem to pay much mind. To think that someone like her reached out to me first made me happier than I could ever describe. First place. You won't believe what happened to me last night. Guess not. Trey bought me this super cute purse I've been wanting for like forever, for our anniversary. Remember this one? I've told you about it. It's totally cute on me, isn't it? She made us show a photo together to do a bunch of different poses. I, in fact, did remember that purse, and I was almost certain that its price was somewhere in the thousands. It seemed kind of showy for a 3-month anniversary, but what did I know? I'd never had anyone like me in that way before. Oh, but that wasn't the only reason I called you. I just got too excited. I actually want to tell you I won't be able to make it to our call tonight. I just thought it'd be fun to show off a bit as well. Trey and I are actually going to spend a little more time together tonight. I just really want to show my appreciation for the gift, you know? But don't worry, we can still call tomorrow, okay? Okay. What's wrong? You look totally upset. I promise I like you lots, but romantic relationships are really important, you know? You'll understand one day when you get your own boyfriend, okay? No, that's not it. Well, not all of it, at least. Just, was there anything else you wanted to talk about? Like what? Hearing her act like the conversation we had the night prior didn't even exist stunk. Quite a bit, actually. This had been at the center of my life, and it wasn't even a part of hers. I tried to come off as indifferent as possible, but I'm sure my voice must have given me away. Well, you remember what we discussed last night, right? I just thought you might have called to ask if anything else had happened. Oh, that's right. You were seeing a bunch of clones, right? It completely slipped my mind. I was just so excited, I guess. She cupped her cheek with her hand and grinned at me. I guess I shouldn't expect too much of her. She's always been the forgetful type, and it's not like her world centered around me or anything. Suddenly, I felt a little embarrassed. No, that's alright. I just thought you might want to know what I did afterwards, since you were the one that suggested it. Was I? Well, how'd it go? Well, I couldn't actually work up the courage to talk to somebody myself. Even though I was the one who brought it up, I suddenly felt like a deer in headlights. It wasn't like anything was a secret at this point, but admitting it had happened again felt scary somehow. I looked down and fidgeted with my hands, pulling on my fingers and cracking my knuckles in the process. It did happen again though, and I didn't even have to talk to anyone this time. Somebody had to get past me, and when I looked at them, it was me again. After that, check out, and the cashier had my face as well. I looked up slightly to gauge her reaction, but she was merely coiling a lock of her hair with her finger and looking to the side with a troubled expression on her face. I went on. It really freaked me out. I ended up running outside because I couldn't bear to look at it. After finishing, we sat in silence for a moment. Juliet's brow was furrowed and her eyes never quite met her camera. That really sucked, huh? Sorry, my mind is totally blanking. I'd like to say something more helpful, but this is just super weird. I mean, I wonder why they're all doing that. Yeah, I have no clue. I began to say that I'd been racking my brain for answers, but I stopped. I hadn't actually been thinking about why this was happening. I guess I just been so caught up in the fact that it was happening in the first place that I didn't even stop to think about what caused it. This kind of started out of nowhere. Back when I first spoke to Juliet, my panic state, I was almost certain that her little spell was what did it. But what were the odds of something like that even working? Wanda was all made, but I highly doubt it was made well made enough to actually cast something. If it wasn't Juliet, then do you think that thing I did actually did something to you? I mean, you mentioned it before, right? I guess it was a bit too soon to write it off. Oh, but not to say this cool or anything. I know this is freaking you out. It's just kind of insane to imagine my words caused this. But don't worry, I'll take responsibility. Take responsibility? Yeah, I'll be such a good friend that you won't even have to worry about all this stuff, okay? Even if it ends up just being us two, I'll make up for everyone else in the whole world. I wonder if something like that really is the answer. Will you really? I promise. After tonight, we'll definitely call more. We can call every day. I'll make sure that you're never bored, even if you can't talk to other people anymore. That's right, I completely forgot to mention Chris. About that, actually, last night I think I met someone else I actually can still talk to. Oh, one of the employees at the convenience store. I think his name is Chris. He spoke to me until I calmed down, and he didn't change at all. Throughout all of it, he was still himself. He even told me. I smiled a bit to myself. Last night, had I managed to finally make another friend? We hadn't talked for super long, but he acted like he actually wanted to see me again. He even asked me to meet him again on his own without me having to say anything. He even told me that I should come back today and meet up with him after his shift. I think he might want to be friends or something like that. Don't you think he's totally hitting on you? Huh? Do you really think so? Hitting on me? The thought had never crossed my mind. I'm not exactly attractive enough for that kind of thing. Furthermore, I was an absolute wreck yesterday. I find it hard to believe that he thought I actually looked cute in that state. Totally! He might be a total creep. I mean, what's the last time someone had a crush on you? Barely know him. He might have ulterior motives. Guess that's true, but I mean, he's the only real lead I have left, shouldn't I? Just don't think you should meet up with a guy like that. It's so suspicious. Trust me, I know way more about guys than you do. This doesn't seem like a good idea to me. I wouldn't want you putting all your hopes in this and getting hurt. She was right. She does know a lot more about men than I do. She's been in several relationships already, and so her instincts when it comes to what's strange and what isn't are probably way sharper than mine. Besides, if she's this full of conviction, it might be best to trust her. Her last sentence especially stuck out at me. If he wasn't the kind of person I see him to be, then what would even be the point of trying to be friends with him? I only want things that are absolutely certain. I guess you're right. Right? Don't worry though, I mean, I'm still your best friend, right? He's got nothing on me. It made me a little sad to think about the fact that I'd gotten my hopes up for no reason. But I'd get over it. I was happier to be making a good decision, and even happier that Juliet seems serious about being by my side. I think as long as she's around, things will be fine. Jeez, what would you even do without me around? You're so hopeless. Look, I might just hang up now. I'm kind of tired, and I think I want to take a nap or something. Huh? Oh, yeah, sure, stay safe. Before she was even able to finish her sentence, I hung up. I gazed at my apartment door for a moment, but quickly turned my chair to it. I wouldn't want to do anything stupid again, after all. No matter how I spent my days, I can't help but feel bored. And I really mean it when I say that. I've done a lot of different things. I got really into skiing one winter. Coming through! Jesus Christ. Tried modeling for a while at my parents' suggestion, although it didn't last for more than a couple hours. I like my brows. I think they're totally cute. If you want to find work, you'll have to be more willing to appear to mainstream audiences. Plus, it can be bad for a woman, especially in the industry, to be so argumentative, you know? Whatever, I'm not taking suggestions from some ugly motherfucker whose face looks like it got flattened by a tire iron. When's the last time you even used moisturizer? When I was in high school, I gave people $5 psychoanalysis sessions. I think there's probably something on your end that keeps making everyone you love leave you. Why do you say that? If you want a more detailed report, you'll have to, pay a surcharge. I've even been to Australia. Australia! Wait, come get a picture of me with this little doggy, so cute! Miss, that's a wild animal. I'd advise against getting so close to it. I get bored of people too after a while. The initial stages of meeting someone new are fun. You learn all about their history, their likes and dislikes, their reaction to things, everything really. If you're easy to talk to, that is. But after that, I just can't be bothered. I really thought for the longest time that there was something super wrong with me. There probably is, honestly. Sometimes, though, it's just a matter of finding ways to live like others do, even if it's not all that genuine. I found the easiest way to cope for me is to maintain a solid distance from others. If I don't reach out to others, but they choose to reach out to me, I know I've got something over them. If you give someone a little attention to start out with, they just can't help it. I lived that way for years, but recently I found something that's actually managed to keep my interest. For a long time, too. Because of it, my days aren't nearly as boring anymore. I initially thought of it just like anybody else. It acted like anybody else too. I found myself getting bored and did my usual routine of pulling away, simply forgetting to reply. Rather than giving up and cutting its losses after a certain point though, it dug in its heels. I guess that's kind of what happens when you don't really have anyone else. It groveled and continued to ask me what it had done wrong for weeks. Eventually, I came to look forward to its daily messages. After a while, I relented and finally responded. Ever since, I've been entertaining it. Faithfully, it comes to me every night without me having to ask. No matter how I treat it, it always comes back. Even if I were to get bored of it, it would never get bored of me. Lately, everything just pales in comparison. I have a lot of friends and a boyfriend, of course, but they don't make me feel alive like that thing does. I always find it funny to see it try to justify things in its head no matter how I act. Eventually, I even started to mess with it on purpose. Where others have lashed out on me and called me awful even for simple mistakes, it never complains, without fail. You were seeing a bunch of clones, right? It completely slipped my mind. I was just so excited, I guess. No, that's alright. I just thought you might want to know what I did afterwards, since you were the one that suggested it. I love it so much. It was just an excuse in the moment, but after I hung up, I actually did end up sleeping things off. I would have liked to do something a bit more productive, but I just couldn't bring myself to do anything else. Even now, I'm still in bed. I can't move. By the time I woke up around 5 p.m., Chris's shift had long since ended. I hope he didn't wait too long, if he had even waited at all. I felt slightly bad for ignoring his offer, but this was just what I had to do. I had made my choice and it was Juliet. It wasn't the first time I closed myself off to other people, and I'm sure it wouldn't be the last either. I was comforted by Juliet's words to an extent, but I still couldn't shove down the growing unease that began to seize my heart over the past few days. I wasn't quite sure what to do now after our conversation. Juliet had promised to make up for everyone else in the world, and I suddenly felt a lot less inclined to try my luck with anything else outside. This oath of attention had been everything I'd ever wanted for the last year of my life, and wanting for anything else felt pointless. When I woke up again, it was already well past midnight. I had several missed calls from Juliet. I scrambled over to my computer, as that's what I usually called her with. Wait, I'm gonna save real quick. Boom Zapsly? I'm gonna rethink it though. As my hand hovered over the call button, I hesitated. I was slightly scared to see her reaction. Would she be angry with me for ignoring her? I could understand if she was. Plus, suddenly, another call from her appeared on my screen. She must have been watching. Swallowing my doubt, I accepted the call. Luda, I was calling. How come you didn't pick up? I was just sleeping. I'm sorry. I couldn't think of much else to do. It's okay, I guess. You feeling any better than you were earlier? I'm not sure I am. Not sure of what to do from here on out. I mean, going outside is what causes, right? You should just take a break from it for a while. Still need to go to work though. I can't just avoid that. Is there no way to take a bit of time off? Guess I have my vacation days, but you should use them. You need to get your mind off things, don't you? Plus, who's to say you wouldn't just have a total freak out at work? No better way to get fired. I mean, anything can happen anywhere, right? Even if I'm avoiding something at work, couldn't something happen here too? Even if that's the case, isn't it better to have something bad happen in the privacy of your own home? I mean, it's not like you want an audience. I guess that's true. I really don't want people watching me fall apart. I muted the call and pulled out my phone. Bringing up my contacts, it really was a sad sight. The only ones I had were some relatives, a few of my coworkers, and of course Juliet. I dialed my manager and put my phone on speaker. I could probably just email her, but I want an immediate response. It took her a moment to pick up, at least longer than it'd take me. If I ever get a call, I always answer before it can even complete a full ring. Hello? Hello, Eloise. What's up? Sorry, I'm in the middle of something, so this'll have to be quick. No, that's alright. I just want to ask if I could maybe use my vacation time for this coming week. She was silent for a moment, and I'm fairly certain I heard her click her tongue after a few seconds. Well, I think that can be arranged. I'll allow it because you've been working here for a while and you don't take off often. But I'd appreciate it if you give me more notice in the future for scheduling reasons. I understand this is just... I looked to the side, uncertain of what to say. How could I even explain something like this? It's hard enough to make sense of myself and I'm the one living it. It's just an emergency, I apologize. That's alright, I hope a week is enough to sort things out. Take care of yourself, you always seem stressed about something or another. I have to go now, but I'll change the schedule later. It should only take an hour or so. Thank you, take care of yourself as well. I'm sorry, goodbye. I hung up and lifted myself off the bed. I practically sunk into my chair. For some reason, that had taken it out of me. All sorted out? You get time off now? Yeah. Yay! I only work part-time, so we'll have plenty of time to hang out now. I better use you to the fullest. That didn't sound so bad. I gave her a weak smile. For sure. Now, what should we do? Well... True to my word, I hardly left the house that week. At first, it was nice. After all, I spent practically every waking moment with Juliet. Strangely enough, she didn't seem to have the same obligations she usually did to other people. Even when it came to her boyfriend, she didn't seem all that interested. Have you gone out with Trey at all this week? I'm surprised you haven't mentioned anything for these past few days. You usually do. Well, we had a fight. Oh, about what? He said I've been spending way too much time with you and he thinks it's weird that I'm spending more time with you than I do him. I think it's all a bunch of bullshit though. I'm sure he'll get over it soon. I mean, isn't it normal to spend a lot of time with your girlfriends? Don't you think so too, don't you? After a while though, I think I started to go stir crazy. Even though going outside and seeing others before filled me with anxiety for most of my life, I suppose it must have grounded me somehow. Now, I found myself wanting for the outside world for some reason. Sometimes I'd spend an hour or two walking laps around the kitchen. I thought on occasion of at least taking a walk outside. However, my nerves in combination with the fact that I was constantly speaking to Juliet stopped me. After all, I didn't want to miss the chance to speak to her too much. If I rejected her too often, wouldn't she get upset with me? Time began to blur together, and I could feel myself losing grip on my usual circadian rhythm. I slept when I pleased, ate when I wanted to, and talked to Juliet for at least 8 hours a day. Eventually though, however slowly, the week did in fact pass. I was usually pretty good about waking up for my shifts, but when I awoke that day I felt groggy and it was difficult to even walk around. Most importantly, I was a complete bundle of nerves. Juliet was as well, surprisingly. Are you really sure it'll be alright? I mean, my family's pretty rich, so you could always just mooch off me. I wouldn't even mind if it were you. It'd be super fun to live together, I bet. If nothing else, I ought to have some kind of routine. Okay, but just tell me if you change your mind, for real. I often like to go in slightly early so I would have time to get ready for the day, but I just couldn't do it this time around. I sat in my car outside in the parking lot, willing time to not pass. That time both felt like an eternity and far too little. Once the moment had finally come to go inside, my shoes felt like cement. I still moved regardless, but my shoes felt like cement. I made it inside alright, but the feeling wouldn't go away. It went well enough for a while. Hey Luda, how are things? I'm doing okay. It just feels a bit weird being back after a whole week. I always feel the same after a long break. If I could never come here again, I would, but you gotta make money somehow. Yeah. Luda, it's been a bit. I was wondering where you were. I'm glad you're back. I'm totally hopeless finding stuff without you around. It was hell, never go on vacation again. I hope things went okay while I was gone. She wouldn't shut up about you while you were gone. I wish Luda was here. Do you think she's okay? It's so boring without her around. Thank the Lord you're back. La 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 la. La 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 la. Shut the fuck up, Antonio. Notice how you didn't deny it? You. How? See what I have to deal with on my own when you're gone, Luda? Luda Solovyova puked her guts out right in the middle of the grocery store. Huh? Oh my god, Luda, are you okay? Luda, should we call someone? What should we do? I don't know. Maybe an ambulance. No wonder. Someone. Just shut up already. Can't think like this, please. I was in a daze when I woke up, but I was able to figure out that I was in the break room. At the very least. One of them sent me home, I'm not sure which. They all looked the same to me, so there was no way of telling. I don't know what to do, I can't live like this. As soon as I got home, I called Juliet. I didn't know what else to do, and that was the only reason why. Did something happen, Luda? You're calling way earlier than I thought you would. Are you at home already? Yeah, I puked my guts out. Everyone turned into me again. I thought it'd be fine, but oh my gosh. I don't want to keep changing everybody. I don't know how to stop it. What do I do? I knew them. They were people I knew, so why? I don't want everyone to go away. I like those people well enough. I don't understand. See, I knew it wouldn't go well. You should have just listened to me. It's okay, though. You don't have to do it anymore. Juliet, you need to grab your magic wand and wish for everything to be normal again. Look, if you keep going out like this, it's dangerous to you and other people. Please rely on me more. Other people? Why hadn't I thought of that? The more I go out, the more people see me. Before long, I'll be the only person left, so the only one maybe one day, even Juliet. I don't want you to go away too. Huh? If I keep talking to you like this, isn't it only a matter of time? Wait, I love that album. I love that album so much. I like you far too much. I don't want anything to happen. Calm down, you're way overthinking it. How can you be so sure? I could see that guy, despite the fact that you only said it would be the two of us. If that's the case and you really don't have complete control, then who's to say something won't also happen to you? You've been so kind to me. If I let something happen to you, I don't think I could forgive myself. Luda. I could feel my stomach sloshing around, the acid building up in my throat, the slight clamminess in my hands. Everything felt as if it had been magnified tenfold. I'm almost certain that all of this is punishment for something. Or maybe it's a message. Is the world trying to tell me something? Is it trying to tell me that I should be alone after all? Before Juliet, I had practically zero friends for years. My coworkers were plenty nice, but it's not like I ever talked to them outside of work and for non-work related reasons. Even when it came to my family, my mother's attitude towards me had always been one of obligation. And my father. I thought back to all those fish from years ago, and I imagined them all floating together at the top of the small bowl I'd given them in a gigantic mass. It was my own selfishness that had dug their grave, and my own inattention that had buried them. If I were to continue on as I am now, would the same happen to Juliet? If everything made her were to be stripped away, then wouldn't she be completely gone? If she were to turn into me, wouldn't that be no different from dying? The thought of being the reason for another suffering made me sick to my stomach, even when I poured all my love into something. I think we should stop talking like this. What? Where's this even coming from? You don't get to decide that all on your own. This involves me too. You have lots of other people out there. People who need you and want you around. I can't take you away from them just because of what I want. Even something like this. It's because of how much I love you. It's my turn to want what's best for you after you've looked out for me for so long. Even if you don't like it, I just know that you would do the same for me. After all, you feel the same, don't you? I couldn't bear to hear anymore. I just knew that my resolve would waver. Besides, every second counted. Something could happen at any moment. I tugged at the power cord on my PC, practically ripping it out of the wall. After I stopped speaking to Juliet, I sequestered myself completely to my apartment and spoke to no one. Shortly afterwards, I was fired from my job for too many no-call, no-shows. I couldn't really bring myself to care, as I knew continuing to go to work would as usual would only end poorly. Eloise's number called to inform me of my firing, but I could hardly tell it was her. My voice was the one that came through the line. Ever since, I've been living off of my savings. When I need something, I simply order it to be delivered. Thankfully, because of that, I've been able to avoid interacting with others. An existence like mine is only possible because of the times I live in. I'm truly lucky. I have a pretty generous amount of money from an inheritance I haven't touched before this, so I'm not too concerned about money for the moment. Even still, I know it's only a matter of time. I'm not sure what I'll do then, but I try not to think about it too much. Once a week in this state had passed, another Luda came into my home. She walked through the front door as if it were the most natural thing in the world, and she hasn't left since. A few days later, another. She has a bit of a mean streak. And more. One of them gets very upset way too easily, so I have to comfort her more often than I'd like to. And then some more. By then, their sporadic arrivals failed to shock me anymore. If anything, I didn't react to much of anything at all. Because of them, I'm slightly less lonely than I would be otherwise. I absolutely despise them. Their chattering is constant, and no matter what time of day it is, at least one is waking up and the other is falling asleep. I find it harder to sleep lately as a result, but I've started to become better at tuning them out. I hardly feel like myself anymore. Isn't a core part of human experience being yourself? Isn't that why you call people individuals? It's infuriating to look around and see that everyone else is merely a reflection of yourself. The same face, the same voice, the same mannerisms, the same everything. Sometimes I'll lock myself in the bathroom and do something drastic. Only in moments like those do I feel as if I belong to myself. Until I open the door, I'm the only Luda Solovyova in the entire world. Once I'm in there, I can stay for hours. Inevitably, though, I'll have to step outside. Usually because I need to eat something. There, I'll find them all going about their lives as usual. The only difference is, of course, the fact that whatever I've done to myself is now reflected in their appearance. When I step out, nobody ever takes notice of me. Even in a world where I'm at the center, craving attention is a pointless endeavor. Mother, this is the kind of world that's always been waiting for me, that I was born into. Nothing you could ever say will convince me otherwise. Wow. Okay, I went and checked and there are 5 endings to this game, so it's very likely that I'll go play this game again and we can go get more endings and such. But that'll be it for now. If you enjoyed this, like the video, subscribe, comment, engagement, and tell me what other games I should play. Okay, bye.